Well, you're not gonna get roasted anywhere like you
Yeah.
are in the military. And once you've been roasted like that, you realize that,
Everything else is little small potatoes,
yeah.
basically, yeah.
Welcome to episode 10 of Cats. I'm doing it still. I don't have a beard. I'm 30. This is. Yeah, yeah. This is Karland. He's also an art
I'm an
Seattle
art.
film.
I am art.
You are art.
I'm an art. Piece of art.
He's an Army guy, Seattle Film Institute guy. So this week we're gonna be doing something fun. I think we're gonna be painting some Warhammer. Let's see if I can pop a little close up on that.
Oh, wow.
Little. See those guys? So we're gonna be. Let me get this camera going too. We're gonna be painting some Warhammer, and we're gonna be talking about our experiences in the military and what it means to us to be artists now. We're both film people.
We're both artists.
We're both art. Still got magnets. I had this idea of getting these guys, embedding magnets in joints, and then swapping them out. So that way you could do a stop motion with these guys. And then, like, have a storyline that goes through all the different lore.
You'd have to, like, cut it, right?
Yeah.
To, like,
cut it,
remove,
then, like,
and then...
use a Dremel to do a little...
Alright, let's do it right now.
Whoa!
Oh, look. So, look. This one's, like, a finished one already.
Yeah. But, I mean, you could paint it... You could paint it whatever color scheme. I don't really care at this point. But now that we've set all that up...
It's too light of a blue.
Let's talk about the military.
Yeah. Well...
Your favorite subject.
I don't mind talking about it. I think that, I think with the military, a lot of people, this looks like a pretty blue. I think a lot of people had a lot of negative experiences understandably so.
Uh-huh.
And I think that, just like with anything in life, sort of the more you throw yourself at uncomfortable things, the better you get at them. And I found the Army was no exception. So I guess this Aldorf blue is the darkest blue we got, looks like. Altordorf, or... I've had an interesting, or maybe unconventional path, in that the military didn't necessarily lead to my discovering of artistry. I had artistry, I guess you could call it, or creativity, with me everywhere I went, including when I deployed to Afghanistan in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a feature film while I was deployed to RC East, and I actually bought my first DSLR from the PX over there. And and I did my first, far from my first, but I did a short film shoot while I was deployed, and that was interesting. And then what's funny is that I hyped a bunch of my guys up in my unit about doing it, and then when the sergeant major caught wind of it, everybody freaked out. Even though he thought it was cool, he just walked in while we were doing it. He thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Everybody else freaked out and like immediately quit because they thought they were going to get in trouble, even though there was no. And that's the thing about the Army, is that unfortunately, it's funny because the people, I think, are the biggest strengths, and the people are also the biggest weakness. When you have people who don't understand how the system was set up,
Yeah.
and they pervert it, then it sucks. But when the Army runs correctly, it's like one of the best run machines in the world, I think. It's just unfortunate that sometimes it doesn't run correctly. I took my filmmaking over to Afghanistan, came back with it, and I basically said every day for years, I said, once I get to this point in my life, then I'll start making movies again. because I made them all through high school and before.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and then I got back from deployment. I'm like, when I get out, or when I get a little more time on my hands, I'll go back to making movies. And then I got more time on my hands. I said, when I get out, I'll do it. Then I joined the sheriff's department. I said, when I, get out of training, I'll do it. And I finally said, you know what? I'm never going to do this unless I just do it. So I finally quit and used my GI Bill to go to college for free. Mm-hmm. And here I am now, doing what I love finally, full time basically.
People always ask me, like, did you regret joining, or like, how was it? And I was like, listen, it was difficult having no control over your life and just being like a cog in the machine. But it was worth it to get to the other end where now I can be a full-time artist and go to school.
The Army, tell everybody that it's like, it's gonna suck while you're in it, but what it sets you up for is, like, there's very little else that an 18-year-old could walk into and then all of a sudden have a springboard for the rest of his or her life. The skill set I learned from the military, too. Like, I'm not talking about kicking indoors and stuff, which was all fun and games, but I'm talking about, like, the attention to detail and discipline skills.
Yeah.
As a cinematographer and as a director and a project leader, people management skills, all that stuff was, like, irreplaceable. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'd be, I would not have those skills, at least to the degree that I do, if it wasn't for the Army. Whenever I get the chance to mentor younger filmmakers, something I say all the time is that it's like the Army, more than people realize. Like, a set and a film production is like the military. Yeah. And it's funny because artist people freak out when they hear that a lot. And it's like, I'm not talking about the intensity and the yelling at each other, but it's, you're moving a massive amount of people and you have to feed all of them and you have to make sure they get rest.
And everyone's got their own individual part that needs to be played, otherwise it all falls apart, and like, it has to be a cohesive unit or else.
You have a rank structure, you have essentially a command structure. Mm-hmm. You have, and everyone's got to do their part for the bigger purpose. If anyone does it their way instead of the way that the director needs it done, right, then it's going to fall apart, right?
Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks that the military is this violent, aggressive kind of thing, and not filled with people who are in touch with their emotions or their creative side, or and so kind of,
what, that's so funny you say that, because I used to tell, so I'm like extra frustrated with my life, like it's like a extra frustrating thing, my life, because I go to the Army and I explain to everybody, like, what I do, and it's like, oh, you make movies? What, are you gay? And it's like, and then I leave the Army and I go to the artist community. And it's like, you're a soldier? What, do you kill babies? Yeah. It's like, and so it's like I never win nowhere, right?
Right.
And it's just funny how quick everybody is to like make a snap judgment based on what your occupation or your hobby is, and like it's not. It's like the antithesis of what it's all about, which is a shared experience. If I could just live independently, like comfortably with finances, I wouldn't care what I make, obviously. But like I guess, you know what it comes from? I watched a lot of movies from the 80s and 70s, and like I grew up on the blockbuster movies of Spielberg and like, like just these like super commercialized movies, and I think that that's where my tastes come from. And so
having these huge, big budget, multi-million-dollar,
just big, like Alfred Hitchcock said that like you know, he wants his, like, people want to make movies that are like a slice of life, and he'd prefer to have them be a slice of chocolate cake. And that's like kind of how I always think of it, is like, if I'm going to go see a movie, I want to see something that can't happen in real life.
Yeah.
Or something that's larger than life. And so
I get that.
I guess I always had something to do, but like when I was between jobs, shortly after them, like a year after I got out, I was between jobs, and I had just decided that I need to make movies for the rest of my life. So I guess it was more like 2 years almost. So I said like, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna go to college, and while I'm in college, I'm gonna use the GI Bill time I have to make as many movies as possible and try and, you know, do this for real. And before I, like, in between when I quit and when my first class started, I went freaking insane.
Oh, yeah.
I went crazy.
Yeah. Just sitting there waiting?
Yep, I had nothing to do, and after you live a high-octane lifestyle like the Army or police work or in movie making, you lose your freaking mind when you have nothing to do. And I did. I lost my mind. I drove myself crazy, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because, like, film work, again, it lets you kind of let loose. It exhausts you so... Maybe that's just like my life. I need to keep myself constantly exhausted, or else I'm a threat to society.
That sounds about right. You're like one of those kids that they're just like, just let him run around the yard.
Yeah, I'm just the ADD child that you need to let do a lap, because if I don't, I'll burn the school down. Or throw gum in Sally's hair.
Yeah. When the Art Institute shut down here, I had to wait 2 months before I could start at Seattle Film Institute.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I just moved up here, so I had 0 friends.
Yeah, you had nothing and nobody. And you're like, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yep. It was just... That's where I first started coming up with this idea of creative art therapy, but then it was like, I didn't know anyone. It was just me and Joe. Joe wasn't going to be on camera.
No, Joe wasn't going to be on camera.
Hold on, focus. Focus. Okay. This is before. This is after. Ta-da! Hold it up. Let's... Ooh. So tell me, what did you think painting these little guys? I mean,
the brushes are great. These little detail brushes are amazing. There's no way that I would be able to do this without them. The paint is good too. The base goes on real nice, and it's probably because like these are like kind of pebbled, or like, I don't know, they're like tacky almost, so like the paint just kind of globs on.
Yeah.
And this, like, as a paint sucks, but I guess it does this shade. It like gives a really cool machine oil kind of like look. Like a greenish
and
machine oil. And
I have this one too.
is it a different color?
This one's
It says green shade. What is that?
Gnome oil.
Oh, maybe I should use that one. Oh yeah, holy crap, that's way black. I'm just gonna wash the whole gun in that.
Alright.
And get it all in the cracks. Yeah, it almost like acts as like a really thin oil paint. And it just gets everywhere. And it's awesome because it like stains everything. So if you want to do a stained oil, dirty grime, it's like perfect.
So, what do you think of that? Like,
yeah, it's great. These little figurines are great. And like I said, that paint, I'm really digging the 2 little oil washes, or whatever they are. Shades, I guess is what they call it. It just gives an awesome corroded, oily look to like a machine character. I love it.
Was it relaxing just painting the one?
Yeah, it's great because like I was saying, like, you know, I think the reason why I'm attracted to attention to detail-oriented tasks is part of my military training and my military bearing of, like, It lets me exercise thinking skills and patience that I don't get to exercise in all everyday life.
Like the discipline, being really careful with the brush.
What's funny is camera department, cinematography specifically, like when I was in the army, like I play with guns and I play with bombs. When I went to the sheriff's department, I want to be SWAT. I want to have all the cool toys, right? And when I go to the movies, where do I go as the camera department, where all the most expensive whiz-bang toys are, right? It's like I like toys. I like to play with toys. And you know, it's like equipment selection. I get to pick which size brush. I get to pick which size paint. I get to, you know, utilize it exactly the way I want. And so, like, these kind of mechanical skills and like tool-based skills I just love. And and it is like, it's therapeutic. It's an outlet that lets me concentrate on something that I immediately see a finished product in front of my eye.
Right.
And you get that feedback immediately, which I love. So, yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me to the table, Trey, and
You're welcome.
Hope to be back again.
You'll never come back.
I probably won't.